There's nothing more humbling and inspiring
and attractive
than witnessing somebody be truly and uniquely exceptional.
Except, of course, for their journeys. Maybe it's luck.
Maybe it's genetics.
Maybe it's work ethic.
Scott and I wanted to see if we could discover what makes some of the universe's most incredible humans the successes they've become, and ultimately find out exactly how they became
So good.
So good. How did you do it? How did you do it? You're so good.
Hi, you guys. What's up?
Hey, guys.
We're back, and we're excited to be back. We're doing a special coronavirus edition to break things up.
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest, this feels crazy. So we're sitting like 8 feet apart, but also hearing each other in our headphones delayed on Zoom and also in masks, and there's like helicopters. So this is like the COVID edition.
It is very hard to focus.
And also I'm overwhelmed at seeing you in person. I'm moved.
I know. But are we like... but I like can't even see you because you're so far and have a mask on.
I know. And like, I don't know if you're smiling. I don't know if you're mad at me. It's like...
I gotta smile with my
crazy.
eyes.
Yeah, but we just wanted to do like a special COVID edition, partially because we got access to a Stanford ER doctor.
Yes.
To kind of give us like a front lines update.
Which is so fascinating because I haven't spoken to anyone really on the front lines. And
Same.
so hearing a firsthand experience will be cool.
Yeah. And also it kind of felt like an excuse to see you from a distance. Like,
Totally.
you know, obviously very safely.
It's like
in
mildly
masks.
depressing, but
It
it's
is
also...
actually, honestly, I can't tell if I'm happier or sadder seeing you this way.
I know.
Because I haven't seen you once this whole time, except for on FaceTime.
Yeah.
How has your quarantine been?
It's been pretty chill. I've just been obviously home the whole time, playing video games and drinking and like making silly videos and stuff. How has yours been?
Yeah, same. It's been like really good for my piano practicing because no one else is allowed in my house, so I have to perform by myself all the time for things. And so sad.
It's sad, yeah.
It's so sad.
Every day's different. It's like, wow, I'm really anxious for 2 days. And then I'm like really good for 3 days. And it's a roller coaster for sure. I think everyone feels that way too.
Yeah, I think, well, I try and remind myself that nothing like this has ever happened in anyone who's alive's lifetime. Like, I talked to my 95-year-old Nana, and I was like, Nana, what's worse, this or World War II? And she's like, this, I'm so lonely. I don't know if she meant it, but like, the point is, this is nuts.
It is so wild.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is like at the beginning of 2020, I remember on like New Year's Day, everyone's like, 2020, what a cool sounding year. This is my year. This is my decade, new beginnings. And like everyone unanimously had a bad year.
I know. Like everyone's like, okay, next one. I got it.
How many days till 2021? That's my question.
But I mean, yeah, it's so scary. And I don't know, like LA's opened up, but I'm too scared to go anywhere. Like I've been just dreaming of a haircut. Like, I'm too scared though. Whatever.
I think your hair looks good.
Oh my God, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Have you been doing like the standard quarantine things? Like baking banana bread?
Oh yeah. Actually, we have a little game, you guys, that we're going to play that talks about all the cliche quarantine things.
Yeah.
Should we dive into it?
Let's dive in.
Okay, banana bread.
No.
Many times.
But is it you or Mark doing it?
We do it together.
Okay.
Primarily Mark. But I'll do some like stirring, you know what I mean?
I just want to say I've been making soup, so I am healthier than all of you.
What type of soup?
I get like bone broth, and I make like rice, and then I saute veggie. By the way, I don't cook. I've never cooked, and I've been like making myself soups all the time. It's actually really sad when I say it out loud.
2020, the year of making soups.
My songs are coming out. Oh, wait, I'm making soup.
Have you drank every day, you think? Or
No,
most days?
I really haven't. But
you're not like a big drinker.
Not a big drinker. I have like definitely more than I normally would. I definitely like come home and feel like I deserve to drink more than I used to feel like I deserve to drink.
Yeah, I feel like you FaceTime me every Friday night,
Yeah,
and you're like,
really
wine night.
Yeah, I like make it an occasion. How about you?
Yeah, most of the days I've had some drinks. There's like nothing to do.
I know.
And I'll try to wait till like 5 p.m. so I
Totally.
don't feel totally like a degenerate. But then I'll be like, all right, crack open the wine.
Well, I brought my own beer because, again, I'm like, as we were just saying, some people seem to be taking COVID like dangerously not seriously, but
Yeah, not at all.
But we're taking it seriously, and also I'm so like this has just validated all my neuroses. I've been terrified of getting sick since I was born. Like, as my friends say, you've been preparing for this your whole life. Like,
Right. I've also never heard the word neuroses before.
what?
Well, the plural version I've never heard.
It's because you're not Jewish.
Okay. Next one. Get ugly.
I feel like I've done that pretty well.
I've killed it at
I've
getting
killed
ugly.
that one.
No, yeah. I'm just. I mean, my skin has just like not been looking amazing, and I've gained weight, and that's
This
okay.
is like embarrassing to admit, but I have like 3 times scheduled like an illegal eyebrow waxing and canceled that last minute out of panic. 3 times I've scheduled it and then I took it back because I couldn't. I got too scared.
You're like in the parking lot.
I know.
Okay, lose all social skills. I think we're doing fine.
I think
right
we're
now.
doing okay. I mean, you and I are like, we have so many years of history. Meeting a stranger sounds terrifying right now.
Yeah, but also on the flip side, I feel like having so much time to myself to
Right.
recharge, I actually have liked people more.
Yeah,
you know,
I
I'll
feel
see my
you.
neighbors and I'm like, how are you guys?
Totally. I talked to my neighbors, like they were like we were all like hanging out in the courtyard the other day. I was like, what's your name? I've lived here for 7 years. Okay, cut your hair bangs. Yes, I cut my own bangs.
Nice.
Didn't go well, but it was really
Didn't go-
funny.
I feel like they look
This,
fine.
I had my friend cut it the
They're
next
covering
time.
up your eyebrows. Yeah,
Strategic.
Mark's been cutting my hair.
It looks
And then
amazing. Of course Mark's
Thank
good
you.
at that. Mark, of course you're good at that.
And I've cut his hair too. Okay, next one. Get a pet.
You did it.
I did get a pet. Y'all, Bubba
It's
is the
cute as-
new addition to the family, the Hoing-Manio family.
I think I'm going to kill him. That's how I feel. He's
Yeah,
so
the
cute.
I do want to like squeeze him till he pops, like the cute aggression's through the roof. Oh. But yeah, he's such a sweetie.
So cute.
He's napping right now, or he would say hi.
I didn't get a pet. Reaching out to an ex and old friends.
I have not reached out to any exes,
Yeah,
but
me
I
neither.
have reached out to a bunch of random
Same.
friends, high school friends, Zoom parties and stuff.
So many random people that I haven't remembered in years have been back in my life. It's actually really fun. That's one of my favorite things about quarantine.
Yeah, that has been fun and
It's like
cool.
a weird reconnection to people.
One day, Mark and I literally went through my contacts, and I was like calling anyone random.
That's so
And that was like a
fun.
4-hour activity. We were talking to like random people.
Oh my God.
Have you watched Dead to Me and or Tiger King?
Only Tiger King.
Oh yeah.
What's Dead to
Craziness.
Me?
Oh, it's amazing. It's this crazy show. I don't even want to explain it. There's so many twists and turns. You have to watch it.
Okay, I'll watch it. I have watched Tiger King though. It's like everyone's
Depressing
horrible.
and-
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're like disgusting people. Going live on Instagram, duh,
Oh yeah, many times.
many times.
And then like nothing really happened, but I randomly got scared of it.
What do you mean?
I don't know. Like there's so much pressure to
Totally.
like, keep the energy
Yeah,
going,
yeah.
and you don't
I
want to
feel
say
you.
anything wrong. And
I was doing live shows every Friday, and it was just like fun to pretend like it was an obligation. So I felt like I had something I was supposed to do, which was like
Something
a
to
nice feeling.
schedule, yeah.
Yeah, and it was nice to like, connect. Like I felt like I was like actually singing for people. I mean, I was literally singing for people, but it felt like an audience. But then it started to feel like a little much.
well, yeah, because the quarantine's gone on for so long.
Exactly. No one thought it would be that long, I feel.
It's kind of like Tori Kelly. She was like, "All right, I'm gonna stop
Yeah,
doing these."
that's what I did. I was like, okay, I'm done after this. Okay, last one is crying.
Crying. I've had 2 crying sessions.
I cried a lot.
Really?
I mean, maybe not a lot, but I feel like I feel like PMS and quarantine has been like some kind of devil's work. Like
It's like
just
amplified?
all my friends. It's just been like psychotic. Like I feel like we all would call each other like, what am I gonna do to someone right now? I feel so insane.
Wow.
Yeah. So I've definitely cried, but it's felt kind of good.
Yeah, crying's nice sometimes.
Yeah.
You 100%. I always feel better after.
Yeah, it's true. It's just such a release. It's kind of like singing.
Okay, that was fun.
That was great. Well, the other thing I've done is I've gone to marches. I've gone to like a few marches in Los Angeles and
Oh, yeah,
for
I've
the
been
Black
to-
Lives Matter movement.
Yeah, same. I've been to one. And it feels like a tipping point. It truly feels like change is like happening.
Yeah,
and,
I know.
and no one's just like casually talking about it. It's like a thing.
I know.
Yeah.
And I just hope that people start, because obviously like marching in the streets isn't sustainable forever because people have to go back to work, you know, and like their
Right,
lives.
right.
But I'm hoping that it can be sustainable, you know, the marching can continue, but also just, I hope people vote. I hope this makes everybody register to vote.
Register to vote. Vote.org.
Please. That's like, you've seen the post over and over on Instagram. You feel the energy. Don't let it slip away because
I know.
we
and don't
have
be
to channel
complacent.
it.
Don't just like be
No.
like, my vote won't matter. That's the most annoying thing in the world.
Oh my God,
Because
if-
if you think of all the people who didn't vote in the 2016 election, it's like
enrages
depressing.
me. I'm enraged at that. It's like, no, look at what's been happening. It's terrifying out there. Like, by the
so
way,
scary.
quarantine is America's situation is so much worse than almost any other country. It's like, it's just
By far.
a disaster.
Yeah.
It's a disaster, and it didn't need to be this bad.
You just hear about all these other countries. They're like, we're COVID free. We're
Yeah.
back at it.
I know. I have a friend she's about to be in this new TV show, and they literally just decided instead of filming in LA to film in Australia because there's basically no COVID in Australia.
Oh, wow.
So-
Can they get in? Are they letting Americans into
Yeah,
Australia?
if they have work visas, they have to. It's like intense, like 2-week quarantine when they get
Jeez.
there. They have a whole system in place. Like it's good. Like they got a
Yeah.
good.
The power of good leadership.
Exactly. Yeah. So vote, please. Don't let this moment fade because it's like a chance
Yeah.
to actually do something. Anyways,
We needed to say that.
okay, so we're gonna bring in our guest.
Yes, let's do it.
And today's guest is Dr. William Dixon, an attending ER doctor at Stanford University. Dr. Dixon is a graduate of Princeton University and University of North Carolina Chapel Hill Medical School. And as well as attending, he also teaches residents and medical students at Stanford, and he just finished a master's in medical education from the University of Pennsylvania Perelman School of
Jeez.
Education.
So he's busy, is our
He's
point.
so busy. Dr. Dixon, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be part of your chosen experts.
We're honored.
We're honored to have you.
We,
Yeah, first of all, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
For everything you've been doing for the past few months. It's really insane to think about what your responsibilities have been and everything you've been through.
And we wanted to do this like very special edition, COVID edition, because I think the whole world is looking for kind of your perspective, not necessarily yours specifically, but kind of the doctor's perspective. Because all of us, COVID means one thing to all of us stuck in our homes, but it means something entirely different to you. So we really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, it's definitely been interesting times, and I know there's that saying, may you live in interesting times, which is kind of both a blessing and a curse. And certainly these last months have been interesting at the least. But really, it's what I signed up for in a lot of ways.
Yeah, if you had to like describe the past 3 months in 3 words, which ones would you pick?
So uncertain, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I think lonely in a way as well, and then I guess surprising or empowering maybe as well. I don't know. That's maybe 4 words, but we'll go with that.
yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, can you kind of tell us just like a picture of what it looks like? I don't know if on the front lines is too dramatic of a phrase, but like what it looks like on a daily basis for you.
Yeah.
What your
so
experience is like.
I will qualify this with saying that Stanford's in the California Bay Area, where the percentage of patients who have COVID has been significantly less than some of the other hotspots.
Is that a complicated feeling for you?
Oh, totally. I want to be there, quote unquote, where the action is. But it's also, you never know. You have to be ready in case it's happening locally, too.
Right. Have you been afraid of getting sick? Or have your friends been getting sick? Or is that not even really on your radar because you're so focused on the task?
No, I've definitely been nervous to get sick. I do think that I'm in the demographic that I wouldn't get as sick as a lot of the people have. But there are definitely residents or young junior faculty attendings who have gotten sick and who have died and who were not the people that you would expect to get sick. So that's something that I've been nervous about. The other thing is that, not necessarily for myself, but I am right now the most dangerous person that my friends and family know, just from my potential for exposure,
Right.
which is just a weird place to be.
Are people afraid of you?
No, I don't think created me in that way.
Right.
Yeah. So do you consider yourself brave? Because I feel like I would never be brave enough to do what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so I just find it so impressive. Do you think of yourself as brave, or you're just kind of doing what you signed up for? Or
Definitely doing what I signed up for. I don't think I'm any more brave than anybody else in healthcare. And certainly I'm at a place where we have the resources and the protections in place that I feel just as safe as if I were in a grocery store or anything. So I don't think it's requiring any more fortitude necessarily. This is not the first time that this has happened in healthcare, right? Not necessarily with something as silent as this, but certainly something as mystifying and infectious as coronavirus has been. There's other pandemics that have always kind of scared doctors, and it's I guess it's nice to be part of that tradition of putting aside your own kind of concern for well-being and just taking care of patients. There's something very rewarding about that.
Yeah, that must be really fulfilling.
That's a really specific quality that I think healthcare providers have to have. Like you clearly, either it's a sense of, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but there's like a sense of duty or some kind of really like true desire to help that I think we all want to help, but there's something like deeper in somebody who goes on, especially an ER doctor, like to put yourself in the thick of it. I just think whether or not you think you're brave, I think everybody else thinks you're brave. That's just the nature of it.
It's a little uncomfortable. I don't, I say this coming on a podcast talking about how I'm an expert, but I don't necessarily consider myself as like being particularly brave obviously I'm not doing this for the external reward. A lot of this, and has always been, just intrinsic motivation and interest. So. Right.
Yeah. Do you feel like this whole like situation has taken a toll on your mental health at all?
I think it just in the setting of indefinite uncertainty is brutal. Like anybody can tolerate something for a certain amount of time, right? People get through boot camp or, you can do your 30-minute exercise or whatever that something you can't tolerate for yourself is. Even like something like residency, which was 3 years of really, really hard work, or 4 years, or for some people it's 7 years, whatever. There's an end time on it. But the just endless uncertainty of when will stuff go back to normal?
Totally.
Will it ever be normal again? As much as as much as working in a hospital is normal. I think that's what is wearing on people. And that's tough.
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that.
That is the worst. Actually, that's interesting. This podcast is all about, getting good at something, and a lot of that is work ethic and pushing through, getting up after you fall. Like that's such a theme of this podcast. And this situation that we're literally all facing, and you as a doctor in a more extreme way, but we're all facing exactly what you're saying, this like endless abyss of like uncertainty. It's my nightmare. It's awful.
Yeah, the people who are good at patience are probably doing better.
Yeah.
So I've always considered myself an extremely patient person, but even this is like, come on,
testing the limit.
Yeah.
Studies show that willpower itself is a finite resource, right? Like everyone runs out of willpower at some point, which is why diets don't work, people fall off exercise, everything. So it's just, I think.
I feel like you're calling me out right now.
I would never. But I just as a nation, we're running out of collective willpower, it seems like.
Yeah, I can feel that because I feel like cases are getting worse in LA. They're spiking, but everyone's like going back to normal because they're just like over.
I know. It terrifies me to my core.
It's like everyone's collectively giving up. It's kind of scary.
Do you have any? Can you give us predictions? I know you're not. I know. Generally in the medical community, there's like no like clear answer. So I'm not asking you to somehow know something that nobody else does, but just as somebody who's closer to it than we are, like any kind of sense of what's gonna come, the next like 6 months, year is gonna look like?
No, I'm on the vaccination train, and I think that 2021 safe vaccination is reasonable. And then getting people to take those vaccines is then a next step in, our national conspiracy theory. But I think that the rest of this year, you will have to at least have some degree of social quarantine. Social distancing is going to continue kind of for probably another year or almost.
Yeah. So I'm not going back on tour.
Yeah, me neither.
No.
We're not going on tour. God, that makes me hate myself for complaining about tour last year. I mean, I love being on tour. Don't get me wrong, but I was like, oh my God, I'm tired. And now I'm like, I hate you, Rozzi. That is so annoying.
Well, I mean, even it's just we've never had something like this before. Like in our collective memory, right? There's just not been an illness like this. It's crazy. And even it's just like, it affects me at work, but that's like something that I'm expected. What's really been bothering me the most is when you lose that ability to be social with people. Like I've had,
Totally.
3 or 4 weddings that I got canceled that I was really excited to do, just seeing my family. And then one of the other things is this, wellness and medicine's a big topic in terms of just that, doctors and nurses and techs, everybody who works in the hospital sees stuff that people don't see. And one of the ways that you get through it is you process it together. You get together and you go to
get wasted. That's how you get through it. You're telling us. You go to a bar and you get blackout drunk.
No, I've never.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
But that group therapy is a big part of it. And then so just having to leave your shift and walk naked into your house and take a shower and sit there and do nothing is just is really, really different and tough.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think you're experiencing everything that we as citizens are experiencing, plus a whole other level of stress and change and whatever. So I don't want to minimize that at all. But just on a personal level, like the days where I've needed to blow off steam, when I otherwise would just go to a coffee shop and sit down and just be in a social situation, even, something that simple, or, more extreme, like going out dancing, just something where I can, that's a loss. I think we're all grieving too,
Yeah, grieving normalcy for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not to mention the people who are actually, sick or losing people, that's of course a whole nother level, but.
Exactly.
I have a question. This podcast is all about, like I said, getting great at something and being a doctor, whether you intended to or not. You're like a hero these days. That's what a doctor is. Maybe always, but more now than ever. What do you feel best prepared you for this moment? Like, was it medical school? Was it just some way you were raised, or just experience in the hospital? Like, what best prepared you to deal with this?
So I think that I am lucky in that I have 2 things, I guess. So the way that I'm raised, and I have 3 siblings, and I'm the middle child. So I've always been like a kind of a classic middle child in the way of like being the negotiator, the conflict de-escalator. And that's just kind of been my personality, but also what I've become good at, I think. And that's just part of how I'm generally pretty good natured. And that's just part of, both nature and nurture and all that stuff.
Right. And that's probably very important to be an ER doctor.
Yes. I was able to calm down a prisoner who had been brought in for basically being too much for the prison to handle. And I was in there for a minute or 2 and calmed her down. And I walked out, and the prison guards were all kind of looking at me like, what just happened in there? And made a joke that I'm human Valium, which is not generally a good thing to be called, but put people asleep, but in the context of, trying to get people to calm down as part of my job regularly is, I guess, a compliment.
Do you ever have moments where you like panic or like freak out, have an anxiety attack, or are you just pretty much always chill?
Externally, I'm definitely always chill. It's nice to be at a place where there's always other people around, and I can at least feel that I am able to ask other people or talk to other people or go to other people for advice. But at some level, it's just being comfortable with uncertainty, and you have to be able to have that as an emergency doctor as well. So Rarely. There's definitely been a few times where I've kind of been like, oh man, but it's that deep breath and go back to your training, start with A, then go to B, then go to C, that you have to realize.
Yeah, so do you have, I guess you kind of just said that, but do you have any specific like tactics or little tricks or little mantras or anything you tell yourself when if you ever like facing a really stressful situation that can kind of calm you down? Or it's just your nature and you're like, I'm perfect?
No, I'm definitely just perfect. No, so there's kind of a joke in medicine that the first thing you do in a code is like when someone's not breathing, has no pulse, that kind of thing. And as the doctor, basically you're in charge of running the code, right? Saying, hey, you do this, you do compressions, you put in an IV, whatever. The joke is, or the saying is, first you take your own pulse. Until you kind of compose yourself, you are unable to be helpful to everyone else, right? And you definitely see that as you're training and as you're working with other doctors. There are some that are naturally control the room and some that just the way that they are giving instructions is not in an effective way. And this, there's a good amount of research done on that to try and figure out what is it that some people kind of train or innately have and some people don't. No one's going to be effective until you have an effective leader, right? And so to be that leader is something that you work on and train or should be working on and training.
And adrenaline helps.
Definitely. But it's control adrenaline, right? If you're like freaking out and being like, just kind of getting all over the place, you really have, it's that 2 or 3 deep breaths to try and bring it all back in. One of the best pieces of advice I have was that if you can feel the kind of room getting out of control as the attending, you could say, everyone, like with a raised voice, okay, everyone back to me, and then just try and gather the attention of everyone. It's it's amazing how much there's someone dying or close to death in front of you, but when that becomes not routine, but something that it's not necessarily like the first or second time you've seen it. If you're a healthcare provider, it's amazing how much stuff kind of happens around the room that's not necessarily directed at patient care. And that's something that you have to kind of try to weed out, I guess.
It's kind of terrifying to realize that doctors are just people.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That y'all aren't like perfect robots who never make mistakes. Right. I actually dated a surgeon once and he was like, yeah, during surgery, the other surgeon passed out because she was hungover.
Oh
she was
my God.
Shaky. Do you have
Not
any
at
stories like
Stanford.
this?
Not at Stanford.
Not at Stanford, though.
Less that. That's not great, but like just in that, doctors, we do our best, but we're human. We don't know stuff, and also people are unpredictable. Like one of the other things I've had to realize working in kind of Silicon Valley is, we have a lot of engineers, and people expect that if condition A exists and then you do thing B, then the end result will be C, and that is not true at all. In people, right? It's true for computers, but it's not true at all for people. A lot of times we cannot predict what's going to happen.
Right. I really like the whole concept of check your own pulse first.
I love that.
It's kind of a beautiful mantra for
Sentiment in
anyone.
general,
I think I've seen like memes that don't say that quite as eloquently, but like you have to take care of your own mental health before you can really take care of anybody else. Like everybody I think has this experience of dating somebody who doesn't take care of themselves and how impossible it is for them to take care of you, and that's obviously, this is much more extreme. This is life or death. But I just think that's like actually a very useful mantra for anybody.
Yeah, before like assessing the situation, just like take a second to calm yourself down. That I feel like that works in all areas of life for sure.
Yeah, and one of the other things that I try to do is if I have the caregiver of a patient there, whether it's someone who's older with dementia or they've got bad cancer, when I can, I always ask whoever's brought them to the hospital, right? Their son, their daughter, their husband, their wife, if they need help too, because a lot of times these people are doing everything and no one ever checks in on them. And it's been a nice thing for me. You're treating more than the patient in front of you, but you're trying to treat their whole environment. And I've had, some people say, oh no, I'm fine. But some people really kind of are like, clearly overwhelmed and checking in like that. You can't take care of someone else until you're okay. So checking in like that often can lead to some interesting changes.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, I just want to ask one more question before we get to our famous final 3 questions. Right?
Yeah.
Which is, it just as regular citizens, me and Scott, and any listeners, like, what is the best thing we can do to help you and other doctors, saving lives right now? What is the best thing we can do to help?
So thank you for that question. I was kind of having this discussion with my friends, since everyone wants to be helpful, and I think it's this is really hard for me, because if for 14 days everybody just stood there and didn't do anything and never saw another person, this would all go away, right? But that's impossible. And then 2, that doesn't change a lot of the other stuff that's going on in the world, right? Which is incredibly important. So, I had a friend who commented, like, I don't get this. A week ago I was Lysoling my shoes after I walked around the block, and now we're diving headfirst into a pandemic in terms of the protests and everything. When I think both are so incredibly important, but I'm scared. I don't know what's going to happen, and I hope that a lot of the studies show that it's like kind of close contacts over time with a lot of breathing. So like an exercise class or something. Obviously, those are going to be not coming back anytime soon. But I don't know. I hope that this is like a nice stress test in one way, in some ways, just to see if we don't spike, then that the protests are doing something that's so important, but then also not necessarily causing harm in terms of the pandemic.
Right. That was what I was thinking. I was like, how amazing if there's not a crazy spike and we're like, oh, masks work.
Yes.
Like, be outside and wear a mask. That's annoying, but way better than nothing, you know?
It's been interesting because people were asking me, like, at the very beginning of this, like, should I be wearing masks outside? And I think the general feeling of the healthcare community was kind of like an eye roll, like, no, it doesn't change anything. And that's definitely different now. And everyone is kind of recommending wearing masks. And so that's been an interesting kind of whiplash for me. So I think, yes, wear masks when you're outside is good. And then really just with your own close contacts as much as possible. Once one person gets it, it can spread quickly through your, family and your contacts and everything. So it's eliminating that one kind. It's like the opposite of business social networks, right? You want those like random people around that get you the offers. Isn't that what that is? This is like the opposite of that. Just stay
networking.
With your
no networking.
people.
Everybody in LA has to stop networking.
People in LA don't know how to not network.
Okay, but you do think a vaccine, like, I was wondering if a vaccine is even going to happen at all, because we don't have a vaccine for like the common cold, or there's no AIDS vaccine. Like, do you really think a vaccine is going to happen?
I have to hope that yes. I think one of the problems with the stuff like coronavirus is that they can just mutate so quickly. But I think what may end up happening is that it becomes, a yearly or every couple of years vaccine as it changes. Is probably the most likely thing, similar to the flu, maybe. But I don't know. I have to hope that people who are smarter than me and better at science than me are figuring this out. I think the combination of infectivity, or how infectious coronavirus is, and the mortality means that the impetus to create a vaccine is so high that it will get done, right? Like, curing the common cold is nice, but like unfortunately, healthcare is a lot of economics. People don't really care if they have a cold once a year necessarily, but obviously something like this has completely changed society.
But everybody will get this, so yeah, I know. That's my hope too. That's the whole entire world is the smartest people on earth are trying to figure it out. So
yeah, that's what I always think too. I'm like, if every doctor's like working on it right now, maybe it'll happen.
How nuts! That's so nuts.
In a weird time.
And also, like, in a weird way, this is like the most unifying thing, right? The whole entire world is dealing with this right now. Like, think about, there's obviously lots of other problems that are being addressed in the country right now, but other than in 1918 or whatever, there's not been a thing that the entire world has had to fight. It's wild.
Right.
That's true. It is unifying. I've thought that before too. I was like, being quarantined kind of sucks, but we're all locked down.
Literally, the whole
and there's something
world.
Unifying about that.
It's like an alien attack. Literally.
That's what I was going to say. Now I can see what would happen.
We're not together. We're on Zoom, but do you have a drink over there? Because on our we figure, first of all, you're a doctor. I feel like you deserve a beer or something, right? After everything you've been dealing with. But also, this is You're So Good, and we all have a drink. I brought a gluten-free beer from home.
Yeah, we picked beer for you because you're a straight guy. Straight guys drink
And
beer.
that's all the information we have.
That works.
All right, you guys, it's time for my sweet angel of a boyfriend / our mixologist on the show, Mark Manio, to make a drink.
Time for a drink. Make my Scott's boyfriend. Time to get wasted.
I actually have iced coffee, which I'm drinking right now. But
All right, fine.
Oh, nice. If you put Bailey's in it, then it's okay. That's good.
I'll be drinking a Bud Light later.
Okay, well, we'll all mentally cheers to you,
Yes.
and when we're having our drink. I mean, we'll cheers
What a
to you,
depressing
Scott.
cheers.
I miss you. So sad. Can't even get near you. Now we have our 3 questions that we ask everybody.
Every guest.
And the first is, what does success mean to you?
This is such a hard question. It's just like so interesting because,
I know.
I should know this, but like, honestly, I think professionally success for me is helping to create a generation of physicians who are aware of how to function in society and in medicine as respectful of all of the inputs that are important to a person's life, if that makes sense. So much of what we do in the emergency department is beyond like, this person has a pneumonia. This is the antibiotic that they need, but it's really figuring out so much more of the systemic reasons as to why this person has any condition, right? Why is their diabetes out of control? Why is there, why do they come to the emergency department today? They might not even have an issue, but they're just lonely. Like we see this stuff like that all the time. And so the ability to take a step back and ask not what medical condition brought you to the hospital today, but what social condition brought you to the hospital today as well, I think is something that I've always it's important to me to teach to the residents or the medical students or whoever I'm trying to teach.
Yeah, holistic.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. Amazing. That I would love that too.
I never even thought about that before because you think of medical as like it's like black and white. It's like if they have the sickness, you fix it this way. But getting into the social, psychological aspect of it is really interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to claim that as just the purview of emergency medicine, but we see it because people end up in the emergency department for so many reasons. It's one of the reasons I love this job so much is that everyone has like the story of how they ended up in the emergency department, right? Like that's a lot of times that's we're seeing people for some people the worst day of their lives, right? Or some people it's a funny story, or for some people whatever. But I'm the one who gets to hear that story every day, right? That's cool.
Right. That's amazing.
Oh,
actually.
That's fun. That's a fun part of it.
It's like being
Rozzi and I love gossiping, so.
Oh my God, believe me, we'll get there. But I was gonna say, it kind of feels like you're like somebody who marries people in Vegas. Like you really see them in like in a really memorable moment of their life. They're like, you really are experiencing something they're never gonna forget.
Yeah. And so on the other side of that, like I need to always be aware that I'm part of this memory, right? Like they're gonna remember the way that I made them feel and think.
It's like when you meet someone really famous.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everyone hangs on to every word you say. My dad was like in this accident 10 years ago, and we were in the hospital, and when the doctor comes in, it's like all eyes on the doctor, and like he has to be so comforting, and so that's a big job for you as well.
Every time you speak to them, it's like they're meeting Beyonce. Like they're going to remember every single word you say.
Right.
I try not to be quite as memorable as that, but yeah.
Okay, second question is... What is it? We haven't done a podcast in a while.
It's been a while. What would you tell yourself at your lowest?
Yes. What would you tell yourself at your lowest?
So, they talk about, or people talk about physician burnout, at least physicians do, which is the kind of the feeling of you depersonalize, right? Your patient's not a patient. You don't feel fulfilled by the work you do. And that, to me, is the lowest. Now, I was only ever really burned out, I would say, fortunately for a short time during residency. And I remember just kind of not yelling at a patient, but really trying to just talk to him, and like he wasn't really giving me good answers, and I was starting to raise my voice, and he was like, "Why are you getting mad at me?" And I just remember being like, "Oh my God, why am I doing this? This is horrifying to me." And so that was probably my lowest that I've been in that I can remember, certainly professionally. So I think my question was just why. Like you can be happy. Like not happiness is a choice in that I know that it's not necessarily a choice for a lot of people, but like in this moment, in this moment and in this experience, like you can be happy. Be happy. I guess
it's kind of like a check your pulse thing. Like kind of taking a second to breathe and realizing how you're acting.
Absolutely, yeah.
Self-awareness. All right.
Okay, last question.
Our last question always feels ridiculous, but we love it.
And I feel like you have a good answer to this one.
I feel like you do too.
Because you hear stories every day that you described as gossip earlier. But Rozzi and I loved gossip, so we want to know if you have any gossip, any recent gossip.
ERT.
Like the craziest ER story or something like that.
Yeah.
Or like Grey's Anatomy, correlations. I don't know.
So I have two things to say. One is that those stories of like sex sent me to the ER or, I didn't know I was pregnant are 100% true. That happens all the time. And also we definitely have patients who did not know they were pregnant and are coming in for abdominal pain or whatever. And then you're like, whoa, wait a second here. There's something else going on. And then they give birth right in the hospital. So that's
God.
really crazy.
How? I don't understand that. I really have a hard time with that one.
Doesn't your body make major changes?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how specific you guys want to be, but it definitely happens.
Oh my God.
And then two, the Grey's Anatomy is when I was an intern, we had a trauma patient come in who was a teenage girl, and she had a pretty bad accident, and I was trying to kind of comfort her as I was taking care of her, and she was being super brave and said something along the lines of, I always thought that I would be in a hospital maybe on the other side and not as like a patient. She was like, how much of this is like Grey's Anatomy, like how much of this is like you guys don't actually like all hook up with each other or anything, right? And I'm like I've been a doctor for like 2 weeks at this point, and I'm trying to make her feel better. So I look down at her and I go, "You'd be surprised." And all of the nurses and like the rest of the doctors in the room.
Oh my God!
Like, are you out of your mind? I had no experience to prove that at that point. But I was trying to make her feel better, and she was like,
I love that. She probably loved that answer though.
Oh my God.
She loved it. So that's my best story for that. Yeah.
This is kind of a random question, but trauma accident kind of made me think of it. Have you ever had do you have frequently people come in with like tree branches through their chest, like gnarly stuff? Or is it like not that?
It's not popular by any stretch. So that stuff, I'm not scared of blood, as you can imagine, but when stuff isn't where it's supposed to be is when I'm kind of the most, my stomach gets a little upset, I guess.
Oh, I would faint 100%.
Wait, there was a Grey's Anatomy episode where this guy had that thing where he would like looked like a tree, like he was like growing roots out of his body. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I've never seen.
Oh
that
my
show.
God, it was so. I don't. There's a name that you probably know what it is, but it's like his arms and his hands and feet looked like tree trunks, like they were like growing. Whatever, it freaked me out, but not relevant. Okay.
Jacob's just laughing at you.
Okay, well,
that was all we had. Yeah,
that was amazing. I just want to thank you so much for being a doctor and everything you're doing. I mean, we're all so scared, and I don't know. I mean, what would we do without doctors? Truly, so
it's amazing. Thank you, and thanks for coming on this podcast and taking the time during your nice trip to wine country.
Yes,
I don't feel like I deserve things. I completely love what I do. Like in the self-interest thing, I absolutely love it. It feels like a privilege to be able to take care of patients every day. So I'm very happy with it.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you to everybody listening. We hope everyone's staying safe.
Yeah, and we love you so much.
And thank you for listening to our podcast. We haven't recorded one since we started releasing.
That's true.
So we hope you guys are enjoying. We have so many more fun guests for you.
Cheers to it being out.
Cheers to it being out. So sad that we had to celebrate on the internet, but also whatever.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is. All right. Thanks
All right.
again.
Thanks so much, Doctor. We really appreciate it.
All right. You're welcome.
Amazing. Okay. Bye guys.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.